Joining me to discuss the implications of Amini's death is Negar Motazavi. She's an Iranian-American journalist. She's the host of the Iran podcast. Negar, good to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Ali.
There's a lot going on in this story. I've tried to lay some of it out because it requires the context. But possibly the thing that stands out to me the most is that it's a very, very high bar for Iranians to join this level of protest because it is prescribed. It is not allowed in Iran typically. The idea that it's gotten as big as it has is something we haven't seen since 2009.
That's true, Ali. Women and men are essentially risking their lives by staying on the street in this amount of protests that we're seeing that spread to dozens of cities across Iran, large cities, smaller towns, as you said, in the Kurdish area where Masa or Jina was from. We even see protests in religious cities like Qom, like Mashhad, because this is just layers of anger, the outpouring of anger that has been building up over the years at the system, but also specifically at this morality police, to the point that the kind of violence that people have time and again seen the morality police has eventually turned into lethal violence. This woman, regardless of what the exact circumstances was, there's still an investigation going. People are asking for medical evidence from the state, but she died in custody. She died in police custody, and that's what matters. She was arrested, she was detained, she was taken to the station because of the way she was dressed. And now you have religious Iranians asking what exactly was wrong with the way Mahsa Amini was dressed. She just looked like a normal woman, dressed very normally, a 22-year-old who was visiting Tehran. And a lot of women are saying this could have been us. They see themselves in Mahsa Amini. Men see their own sisters in Mahsa Amini, and they're saying this could have happened to any of us. So that's why you see this level of anger and also the bravery and the courage.
What's your sense of where this goes? Because Iran does not enjoy these kinds of protests, and they don't have them all that often. What happens? Do the protests, in your opinion, grow, or does the government increase its crackdown?
Well, so far the anger has been so massive that protests were just growing despite a crackdown. We've seen violent crackdown, the reports of protesters being killed, security forces are using a lot of violence. Back in 2019, the previous round of mass protests, the state essentially brought down the iron fist. Hundreds of protesters were killed on the street, thousands were arrested, given harsh sentences. And back in 2009, also the largest since the 1979 revolution, in 2009, the state used a lot of violence to crack down and to repress the protesters, and essentially, as they call it, to wrap it up. So they have this ability. They have been willing to use force, violent, lethal force in the past. We see internet disruption of access to social media. These are all recipes for the kind of violent crackdown that the state is using. And also, we have to talk about why people are taking to the streets, because they see no other avenue for real change. This is the only way that they find after years and years of protesting and opposing the morality police, and also this mandatory hijab law, as well as systemic repression, political corruption. These are economic grievances, social grievances, political grievances that have piled up.
Very quickly, just let our viewers know about these morality police. I remember seeing them in Tehran. They're often in public places outside of a subway or in a public square. I saw them at the airport. They struck me as scoldy people who would go up to you and tell you to put your headscarf, to have it cover your hair, because a lot of people sort of wear it a little more loosely in Iran, more like a loose scarf. I didn't know they get into the business of people ending up dead in their custody.
I lived in Iran. I also had to do, as a young woman, deal with the morality police. It's essentially, or the guidance police, as they call them. They're tasked with guiding women and men on how to dress and how to behave appropriately. But women have been resisting this guidance. They're unwilling to receive the guidance from the morality police. So this morality police is part of the bigger police force. They have the same authority. They arrest, they detain. And there's image after image, people videotape or take photos of them using violence, throwing people when they're arresting, pulling people, throwing them in the police vans. And that's where things heat up. And regardless of what exactly happened this one time, people have seen their violence time and again. And that's why they're angry. That's why they don't trust what the state is putting in front of them. And it's essentially a form of public harassment against women. And now you have even religious Iranians, and some religious scholars speaking up against it, saying this is immoral and this is not in line with religion, to use lethal force to impose what they consider a virtue on women.
Negar, thank you for your great reporting on this. We appreciate it. Negar Mortazavi is a longtime journalist and the host of the Iran podcast.